If you enjoyed the video or any other content on the channel, feel free to subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and we got board reactions coming soon. This video is going over a list I created with the idea of nothing Forge World and a lot of golden bodies on the board. The list has 29 Custodian Guard in it. I could fit more, but I wanted the list to work too, not just a silly list. The list will focus on using the stratagem Vigilance Eternal to sticky objectives with aggression with Golden Waagh of Custodian Guard. I go over the list in detail, then highlight how the Detachment Rule and stratagems in the Shield Host detachment benefit each unit in the list. Now, let's see the list. This is the Shield Host list. It comes to 2,000 points exactly, and I named it the Golden Waagh. Our Warlord is a Shield Captain in Allarus armor. He has the Panoptic Specs enhancement for 5 points and a Castellan Axe. For our battle line, we do have units of Custodian Guard. 2 of them have 4 spears with the Vexilla, Presidium Shield, and the Misericordia. 3 of them have all 5 Guardian Spears, and then the final unit of 4 has 4 Guardian Spears. For our other datasheets, we have 5 Allarus Custodians with 5 Castellan Axes and the Ballistic Grenade Launchers, 2 units of Prosecutors, a unit of Witchseekers, and Inquisitor Draxus to join one of those 4 Guardian Spears and 1 Vexilla unit. No Forge World in this list, just lots of golden bodies. Now we'll go over the Adeptus Custodes Army Rule and the Detachment Rule for the Shield Host. The Army Rule is Martial Kata. Each time a unit from your army with this ability is selected to fight, select one of the Kata stances. Until that unit has finished making its attacks, the selected stance is active for it and it gains the relevant ability. Dakatari stance, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the Sustain Hits 1 ability. Rendak stance, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the Lethal Hits ability. A great army rule to boost our melee damage potential. If we'll be wounding on 4+ or less, pick the Sustain Hits 1. If it's 5 or 6s, pick Lethal Hits. The Shield Host Detachment Rule is called Martial Mastery. At the start of the battle round, you can select one of the bullet points below. If you do so, until the start of the next battle round, that bullet point effects apply. For the first one, we have each Adeptus Custodes model with the Martial Kata ability. Melee weapons equipped by that model gain the Critical Hits on 5's ability. Or you could pick each Adeptus Custodes model with the Martial Kata ability. Melee weapons equipped by that model gain +1 AP. I will quickly touch on the 6 stratagems for the Shield Host. Some of them are better than others. For the first one, and one of the better ones, is Arcane Genetic Alchemy. Any phase after mortal wounds have been allocated, until the end of the phase, models in that unit have a 4+ Feel No Pain ability against mortal wounds. And this is a great one because we can wait till the wounds have been allocated before we can use this, and this is any phase. Then we have Archaeotech Munitions in your shooting phase. One Adeptus Custodes unit that hasn't shot yet, select either Lethal Hits or Sustain Hits 1 ability. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the selected ability. Great for Draxus and great for that Allarus Custodians unit. Avenge the Fallen, I don't really like this one. Start of the fight phase, one Adeptus Custodes unit that is below starting strength. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in your unit. If your unit is below half strength, until the end of the phase, add 2 to the attack characteristic of those melee weapons instead. And like I said, for 1 CP, it isn't really worth it to get 1 extra attack for these melee units. If you get down to the below half strength, even getting 2 extra attacks really isn't going to make a difference, and it isn't worth the 1 CP, especially with some other great stratagems floating around. And this is another great one, Multi-Potentiality. It allows the unit to fall back, shoot, and charge. Another one is Unwavering Sentinels. And this one, it's not bad, but it could be stronger. It's in the fight phase if we are on an objective that we control. Until the end of the phase, each time a melee attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. I'd rather -1 to the wound roll, but -1 to the hit roll. It can come in handy, but there is a lot of reroll hit rolls in the game right now. And then finally, what this list is kind of built around is Vigilance Eternal for 1 CP in the movement phase. If we're on an objective we control, we can sticky that objective. A great stratagem to allow us to keep moving up the board and not having our expensive custodian units standing on objectives all game. Now we'll go through the units in the list. We'll start with our Warlord Shield Captain Allarus attached to the 5 Allarus Custodians. This is our Warlord unit. The Shield Captain with 5 Allarus will be the hardest hitting and toughest unit in our list. I wanted very little characters in this list, but I did want one Shield Captain to take advantage of Strategic Mastery to reduce the CP cost of Stratagems by 1 CP. The Shield Captain and Allarus with the Adeptus Custodians will have access to any of the Stratagems for the cost of 0 CP once per battle round, making it very hard to use Mortal Wounds to take out this unit, since the unit will be able to use Arcane Genetic Alchemy for 0 CP. Multi-potentiality for 0 CP allows us to fall back, shoot, and charge, making it pretty much impossible to keep this unit tied down in combat. This is one of the 2 units in the list that loves being able to fall back and shoot. The unit has 12 shots from the axes, hitting on 2s, strength 4, AP 1, damage 2. Then we have another 66 plus blast from the grenade launchers, and those are strength 4, AP 1, damage 1, very deadly into toughness 4 or less targets. We can also use Archaeotech munitions to give this unit ranged attacks, sustained 1 or lethal hits, making them either anti-horde or a little bit anti-everything with lethal hits. I chose the Castellan axes because we can get them up to AP 2 with the Shield Host Detachment Rule. They are much less affected by the -1 damage or the half damage, taking the axe from damage 3 to damage 2. The Guardian Spears, on the other hand, go from damage 2 to damage 1, which is a huge deal when most of our army does have damage 2 weapons. The Allarus Custodian's ability, Slayer of Tyrants, allows this unit to re-roll the wound roll against character, vehicle, and monster units. That is in either ranged or melee. This is what makes this unit so dangerous to the opponent's most important units, since they will most likely fall in one of those 3 categories. This unit will start in Deep Strike. I want to use Rapid Ingress to get this unit into a nice staging area for a charge on the following turn. The Allarus also have a second ability from Golden Light, and it gives a once per game go back into reserves at the end of the opponent's turn. It gives us more options since we can Rapid Ingress this unit to destroy an important target. At the end of the opponent's turn, they go back into reserves to Deep Strike down somewhere else, or even wait for another good Rapid Ingress opportunity. Now let's talk about Draxus attached to 5 Custodian Guard with the Vexilla, my auto-include unit for most of my lists. This unit is an anti-infantry nightmare. Draxus plus Custodian Guard is one if not the best combinations for Kyria Draxus in all of 10th edition. The Custodian Guard have 2 abilities that makes Draxus shine. Stand Vigil for those reroll wound rolls of 1, or reroll the wound roll if on objective they control. Sentinel Storm once per game, this unit can shoot twice in the shooting phase. Draxus has 2 ranged attacks, her Dirge Singer, which is Assault, Anti-Infantry 4, Devastating Wounds, 4 shots, hitting on 3s, 2s if your target is a Xenos, strength 4, AP 0, damage 2. Then we have the Psychic Tempest, sustain hits 2, 6 shots, hit on 3s, once again 2s if you're targeting a Xenos unit, strength 6, AP 0, damage 2, both with a range of 18. When we combine all of these things together, we get a unit that is made to kill infantry units. You want to be shooting this unit when they are on objective they control. This brings up the anti-infantry potential by so much, allowing us to reroll any of her Dirge Singer wound rolls to fish for those devastating wounds on 4s. Then if we need to, we can shoot twice per game, allowing her to shoot both her ranged attack profiles again. This can rip apart all but the most powerful infantry units. Then we have our 3 units of Custodian Guard, all with 5 Guardian Spears. These units will be able to do a lot of damage in the Shield Host Detachment, with the Detachment Rule and many of the Stratagems to help keep this unit in the fight. Arcane Genetic Alchemy for 1 CP can be used to help protect these units from mortal wounds. We will only be able to use the Stratagem once per phase, but luckily we can wait to see how many mortal wounds have been allocated to a unit before we use this Stratagem. Multi-potentiality for 1 CP for fallback, shoot, and charge will make it very hard for the opponent to keep these units tied up. Having so many units of Custodian Guard, we will have plenty of opportunity to sticky objectives with the Vigilance Eternal Stratagem for 1 CP. We want to use these Custodian Guard to push aggressively into the opponent's army. Get them on an objective they control, and they can reroll the wound roll with Stand Vigil, or reroll wounds of 1 if we can't quite get on an objective we control. Next is one of the 5-man units of Custodian Guard with the Vexilla. The unit without Inquisitor Draxus will go towards the middle objective, with the goal of holding it long enough to sticky it with Vigilance Eternal. The 5-man with the Vexilla will have a total objective control of 15. If there's an enemy unit already on the objective, we should have enough OC to take it and use the Stand Vigil ability to get reroll the wound roll. Vigil on ending can be used to give the unit a -1 to the hit roll in the melee combat against this unit. We have to control the objective to use this stratagem. The Vexilla helps giving this unit more objective control to hold objectives. We could put even more Presidium shields and Sentinel blades in this unit to make it hard to shift off the center. Next up is our unit of 4 Custodian Guard with the 4 Guardian Spears. This unit will be for secondary actions or holding the home objective if the 1 Prosecutor unit will not be enough to defend the home objective. The Shield Host Detachment is great for making even a unit of 4 Custodian Guard a credible threat, with the critical hits on 5s or the extra AP1 on their melee weapons. This unit will be more expendable than the other units of Custodian Guard. I'm not a fan of trading with Custodes, but if I have to, this will be the unit I am more willing to lose if it means taking out an important enemy unit. Now our Witchseekers. There is only 1 unit of Witchseekers in this list. I would try to scope this unit towards the middle for secondary actions and board control. Like the Prosecutors, we do not want to throw these units away early game. Having a few units left on the board dedicated to secondary points is helpful to these low unit count Custodes. They can cause battle shock tests to a target hit by their torrent weapons as well. On to our 2 units of Prosecutors. One of these units I will use to hold the home objective. The other Prosecutor unit we will use to do secondary action points or screen. We want to try to protect these so we have some secondary action units for later in the game. Let's finish with some final thoughts. I started this list with a fun idea of how many Custodian Guard can I fit in a 2,000 point list. After throwing in the full 30, I started adding things to make this list more viable on the tabletop. I did end up taking out 1 of those Custodian Guard, but 29 is still quite a bit of Custodian Guard. With the Allarus, Draxus, and Sisters unit, I think this would make a good all-infantry plastic list for the Shield Host. Plenty of scoring units with lots of bodies on the board for board control, with units who have the touch of death in melee combat. Even more so if we can get these Custodian Guard units on objectives they control to reroll all the wounds. I do want to run this list on the channel because I am curious how it does. Play it super aggressive, sticky objectives, and do the stabs with the spears. Hope you all enjoyed this Golden Waagh list. Subscribe for more Warhammer 40k content. Like I always say, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.